We will talk today about generating dataset from your documentation in order to do fine-tuning of your model. And in previous episode, we saw how we can use your documentation, create vector store, and then use a retrieval augmented generation in order to get response that is based on your documentation and extend the capability of large language model. In general, I mean, we have right now quite big large language model, and they quite capable. They know almost everything that is available in the internet, and they works quite good on public information. And what they're lacking, it is proprietary information. And we have two options. Previously, we discussed retrieval augmented generation option, and today and in next episodes, we will talk about how generate a data set, create this data set, and fine-tune your model. And comparing with retrieval augmented generation, fine-tuning provides more consistent responses and improve model behavior. And com- and actually we can combine RAG, retrieval augmented generation, and model fine tuning in order to get the best results. So both methods works at the same time, provides significant consistency, better consistency, and better results. So that is why we need to fine tune a model. And first step, it is of course we need to have the data set, and comparing with training the model where we have trillion of lines of information, we need to fine tune the model. We need significantly less information, so that can be thousand of pairs input and output that can I mean significantly improve the model behavior. But of course, the more information you have, the better consistency, the better behavior you can get from the model. So let's start, and I will just describe the process itself. So in previous episode, we talk about how get from your how to convert your documentation to vector store so we can retrieve relevant information. That is kind of like first step. And next step, uh, when we retrieve this information from your documentation, we have kind of like a notice. This is chunks of documentation that are more like connected to each other. And we use these chunks in order to generate, for every chunk, we generate, for example, 10 questions with large language models, question and answers. This is pairs. And we use some prompt engineering in order to force large language model to behave as a teacher, and it kind of like create a quiz for students, and actually the student, it is a large language model in this case. Next step, it is validating question and answer pairs. So we kind of like a filtering, just in case if some pairs doesn't I mean, it cannot be answered. I mean, some question cannot be answered, and just let's filter them and delete them from the data set. And last step, we split this data set to training and validation, so that we can fine tune a large language model, and then validate if we are getting better quality of responses. So let's start with initial setup. So we acquire, I mean, we set some import some libraries, and just a moment, I need to select kernel, and we get some OpenAI API key, LangChain API key from a secret store in AWS, and we also set our ChromaDB vector database. So next step, And actually, we don't use in this step ChromaDB. We actually directly uh, ingest all embedded files in handbook folder. And if you don't have this handbook folder, just watch first video in this series, and I mean, we have a Git repository with this handbook from one of the companies that published the handbook in GitHub. So we use this as example, and then you can see that we loaded 1,300 documents, and the total uh, length of all documents, it is quite significant, more than 600,000 symbols. Okay, of course, it's significantly less than dataset when companies training the model out of from scratch. So next step, we use llama index, and let's run this. And we have two things. It is we have GPT 3.5 and GPT-4 context, and this context, it is we use to generate this input and output pairs of kind of like question and answers. And if I search it's below, you will see that we run it for all chunks of the document. We create a summary with GPT-3, and then with GPT-4 we create actual questions. Let me show you GPT-4. Yeah, dataset generator, and this is prompt for generating the dataset. So yep, let's step back. So we created this uh, two contexts with different large language models. One of them are cheaper and can be run more frequently and faster. Some of them are more slower but more enhanced. Next one, we import some libraries in order to evaluate, and other like a prompt template, etc. And so we have a node parser. So we have this big document with 600,000 of symbols, and we split it to nodes, and then we get, yeah, we create a parser and get these nodes from the documents. And then we have prompt that we use. It is kind of like you're a teacher or professor and you're creating a quiz, and you need to follow particular template in your response, and we provide some examples, some must obey behavioral criteria, and that force large language model to generate question and answers for our quiz for fine tuning. And then we open the new file. In our case, it is already existing, and we just append. And here, just narrow down. And the process takes some time, and we will not be able to wait until the end. So just run on one node, and we will generate right now 10 questions and answers. First step, it is kind of summarization. Usually it works a bit faster. So you can see that generated question. So with first we generated list of questions, 10 questions, and after that we generated pairs, this question and answer response. Okay, it took 3 minutes. It's this evening. Maybe that is some high load on OpenAI currently. And next step, we need to filter. And our prompt template, your task is evaluate. And if response for the query isn't able to answer the question provided, and etc. So we asking the model to evaluate and return yes or no. Let's run this. And then run the filter itself. And you can see that yes, yes, yes. So all these pairs, I will stop it because we have quite a big data set right now. And I mean, we don't need to wait until the end. And next step, we need to split this data set, this file to training data set and to evaluation data set. And we have some function that do this, and it use random library in order to make this data set um, random. So I mean, took not, I mean, for example, we don't use one part of the documentation as a training and another part as evaluation. That doesn't work in this way. So we need to have some randomization. Okay, we have split it. And the last step, we need to format it to the training data set. So we add the system role and message. So as you may know, there are several roles that supported by OpenAI API. They released new API for chat, and there is some system role that provides general understanding of how a model should behave. So it sets the situation, set environment for this model. We have user who request some execution. In our case, it will be the question from generated dataset, and we have assistant or AI that provides the answer. So let's run this, and we can so it is output first open API. Let's find this file. So it is folder data, QA pairs OpenAI. Maybe we overwrite it everything, and let's check. For some reason we don't. Okay, we have here this is our queries and responses. For some reason we don't have them as Q2. I don't know. I don't think it makes sense to try to fix it right now. So I will update and push it in GitHub repository so you will see these pairs. Um, mm, Maybe I think I need to wait. Yes, I need to wait until the end. So that is why we don't have these results, but actually, if I stop it, okay, let me try to split it and let's check. Yes, right now it works. I think I stopped too early, and that is why we didn't have it. We split it, and right now we from training dataset we create OpenAI ready dataset. Yes, and you can see here role system, some system message content that provide answer to questions on company handbook, blah blah blah. And then we have raw user with content with particular question, and we have a content for as assistant. So what we expect from AI to be answered. And that's all for today. And in next video, I will show how to use this generated dataset in order to fine-tune large language model. Thank you.